So this is just a basic demo to show you how to work with pen and ink and a couple real basic shading techniques to create value and work on creating some form and some depth with this pen. So I've got some India ink here, a little out of focus there, Bombay Black India ink, and then I've got the pen tip firmly, snugly in here. And I'm going to take the lid off. So I've got a little bit of a firmer drawing paper here, which is just nice to have, but not necessary just for practice. I'm just going to be practicing on it because it's nice for the demo, but you can practice on like copy paper or something like that. But I recommend if you're going to do a final artwork, finished artwork on something, use a little bit thicker paper. Okay, so taking the pen, I'm going to dip it in the ink, and I don't want to like drown it in there. I want to have the pen sort of loaded. You can see I didn't really go past this mark here, the little like elbow there. So I'm going to load the pen up, and then you can see if I've got it this direction, gives a nice thin line. If I do it this direction, it's got a very thin line. Okay, so you can get a little bit of variation by kind of twisting it around as you go. And it holds a decent amount of ink. And has like a nice flow to it. And you can see it's starting to run out. So this first section I'm going to demonstrate how to do cross-hatching to create value. And so we're just going to create a simple sphere. This will be in kind of like an illustrative style, so we are going to have a little bit of an outline. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and create this sort of like a blob kind of form. Okay, now with the cross-hatching, you want to have your lines come out and create parallel value marks. Okay, and the closer together your lines are, the darker the value you create. And it's a fairly time-consuming process, so we're going to go ahead and just speed it up for you here. Okay, here, and you can see that I've determined that my light source is going to be up over here. Okay, there's my little light bulb. Now also notice that when I'm dragging with the pen, I can create nice lines with it. When I push with the pen, it stabs into the paper. So don't do that. If you're going around trying to draw a circular object, it's really tough to kind of push that way, where it's a lot easier to just sort of shift your hand and do separate parts. So sideways you can do to a certain extent, but that pushing doesn't work really well. Okay, so back to our shading. I've gone through here and I'm kind of like doubling up on this to make some of these pretty thick. I'm probably going to come back and do a little bit more of that later, but now I've got my first row of shading, and I'm going to go on and start doing the second row. Okay, now you can see that the change in these is pretty sudden, pretty choppy and blocky, so I'm going to go back in and add even more value, variation in between. Okay, now I'm going to flip over the pen and do some darker line work the other side. Notice that the pen unloads its ink a lot quicker this way because it's making such thick lines. Okay, now I can go through and kind of clean up this edge over here, get rid of some of the scragglies by going sideways around it. Okay, and now I'm going to add some cast shadow here. Okay, so pretty quick and rough and dirty. Just again, kind of experimenting with the pen, getting a chance to sort of see how you can create a variation in value. Okay, so I'm going from this very dark core shadow to this sort of mid-ranges in here up to a really bright highlight. And these pens do take a bit of time to apply this technique with, but you end up with some really nice kind of subtleties in the value range. And yeah, it's pretty fun. So that's that's just hatching. And then in the next video, we'll cover cross hatching.